Hello guys, it's me, Gabe, and today I'm going to be doing a podcast on the Crusades, the dates of the Crusades, the the results, the events, the main historical leaders, just kind of a bunch of facts about the Crusades that I did some research on. So let's just get started. So the beginning of the Crusades started in 1096. And the cause of the Crusades was around Jerusalem and the other holy cities. The Muslims had, the Saracens had conquered them, and when they did conquer them, they killed around 3,000 Christians, and then put the rest who survived in prisons, and they were treated horribly. So that was kind of the cause of the Crusades. Now, like I said earlier, the beginning of the Crusades was 1096. There was 9 total Crusades, and I'm just going to say from what point in time the Crusades started. So they started in 1096, and then they ended in 1272. So I'm just going to tell you guys the dates of each Crusade. So the first Crusade was from 1096 to 1099, and then there was a bit of a break between the First Crusade and the Second Crusade, where the Second Crusade was from 1145 to 1149. The Third Crusade, this is all AD. The Third Crusade was from 1189 to 1192, so once again a little bit of a break between the Third Crusade and the Second Crusade. The Fourth Crusade was about 7 years off of the Third Crusade. It was from 1199 to 1204. The Fifth Crusade was roughly 13 years afterwards, after the Fourth Crusade. It was from 1217 to 1221. The Sixth Crusade was 7 years after the Fifth Crusade, and it was from 1228 to 1229. So a bit of a shorter crusade there. The Seventh Crusade was from 1248 to 1254. So we had a bit of a gap between the Sixth and Seventh Crusade. That's a lot longer than most of the other ones. So after the Seventh Crusade was the Eighth Crusade, and that was just 1 year, in 1270. So that was 16 years after the Seventh Crusade. And then there was the Ninth Crusade. And the Ninth Crusade was from 1271 to 1272. And so those are the dates of all the Crusades. And then we have the historical figures who were leading or who were just who played a key role in the Crusades. So first we have King Richard the Lionhearted, who was leading the forces of he was the King of England at the time, and he was leading his forces through trying to take back the Holy Land. And then we have Saladin, leader of the Muslim forces, who was trying to oppose King Richard. Then we have Philip, King of France, who was aiding King Richard in their military warfare and such. And then there was and then there was John, the brother of Richard, who tried to steal the throne from Richard as he was gone away, kind of a cheap shot move. And then the last main historical figure that I have is Pope Urban II. He was the pope who rallied the troops at the beginning of the crusade. He was the man who convinced a lot of the people to go and partake in the Crusades to try to take the Holy Land. So then we have the results of the Crusades. So at the end of the 9 Crusades, the Christians didn't even take back the Holy Land. At one point in time, they had it, but then it was retaken by the Muslims, the Saracens. But there was some positive benefits that came from the Crusades. First was that the Crusades extended Western civilization and Christianity. The Crusades also increased the power of the church. I mean, that might not be a good thing, but it happened. And it helped end feudalism, which I thought was really interesting. And then here are just some random facts that I felt were good to know about, like the death toll, some things that just kind of happened when a city was attacked and then the civilians were trying to make sure that they were safe. So first is the death toll. So it is estimated that about 1.7 million people died in the Crusades, both civilians and soldiers. And when I saw the civilians, I thought, well, the Muslims didn't really, apart from Jerusalem, they didn't really kill many civilians. Like, they killed the people in Jerusalem. Yes, that was 3,000 people. That was a lot of people. But apart from that, they didn't really kill that many civilians. So then that must have meant that some of the Christians must have killed some civilians, which I thought was kind of different. This is probably the most interesting one. When caught in crossfire, women didn't hesitate to don arms and armor. Most of the time, the men only fought in the wars, but for self-defense, the women grabbed the weapons and they fought against the people who were trying to harm them. And I think this is kind of an obvious one, but thing that not a lot of people really see as a necessary thing that was in the Crusades. During the Crusader period, medical knowledge was really highly valued in the Crusades, and it was constituted one of the crucial points of contact between Eastern and Western cultures. So it kind of broke barriers / made barriers in between the two. Some of the Crusaders' medical advice was they included remedies, right? But some of the remedies were really, they didn't taste good. They were hardly palatable. So one time there was a guy who, seeing that there was a bunch of people who were dying of this one poison from a plant, and then he saw that there was a certain animal. I'll tell you that animal in a couple seconds, that was able to resist that poison. So he was like, "Oh, I can just use that to try to counter the poison." That animal was slugs, so he made slug soup to try to counter the poison. He tested that. He said, the first and second time, I threw up. The third time, it actually worked. There was no more poison in him. But they didn't actually do anything, because the people who were dying, they never actually went on the crusade, because most of them were dead, so they didn't have a big enough army to actually go. So all of that slug soup, eating that stuff, didn't actually help at all. That's nasty. Okay, I think that this is really cool too. When all was lost and they were taken hostages, the Crusaders, they just relied on negotiation skills. They relied on trying to talk their way out of a situation, which I think was really interesting given the fact that they were trying to kill the infidels. So, yeah, just the fact that they were willing to do so kind of lit up a couple light bulbs in my mind. And then this is one that I kind of had briefly mentioned earlier, where the impact of the Crusades kind of changed the perception of Western Christians by the Orthodox Christians and Muslims. So the Muslims saw the Christians as brutal people after the Crusades, after they had killed and just pillaged and they had desecrated their religious monuments. They kind of saw them as more brutal. Like King Richard, as we saw in winning his spurs. Whether this actually happened or not, it's still an example. He just killed the prisoners, right? That was pretty brutal. Yeah. And then the last fact that I have is about the Fourth Crusade. The Fourth Crusade was actually intended to attack the Muslim-controlled Jerusalem through Egypt. Now, this didn't actually come to fruition. The Fourth Crusade never attacked Jerusalem. They attacked the capital of the Byzantine Empire. Because apparently they weren't submitting to the church. So they attacked it, pillaged it, and took it over. Because they weren't submitting to another country. They weren't submitting to another country, so they just decided to take it over. And that is kind of some of the facts, some of the dates, the events that took place in the Crusades. Thanks.